We are saying happy birthday today to a guy whose voice is the sound of the game for countless people. Jim Nantz turns 65 years old today.
He's done play-by-play for the NFL, NCAA Division I basketball, the NBA, and the PGA Tour. But his chief pride, the job he really loves doing, is anchoring CBS's coverage of the Masters tournament.
In 2008, Nantz released a book about his life and career, and that's when our Rob Caldwell talked with him about how he landed his dream job.
Your first job in broadcast sports, for which you were not so generously paid. Tell me about that.
Well, I was a runner. I was a runner for NBC Sports at the Houston Open in 1979. Basically, I went to this compound they had set up at the Houston Open. And with my college roommates and teammates, all of whom became professional golfers, you would know the name Fred Couples, one of them. You know, they all encouraged me. They knew my dream was to one day be covering sports television for a network, preferably, you know, the one that had the Masters golf tournament. But I asked for a security guard to see if Don Ohlmeyer could possibly come out. I'd like to have a word with him. And believe it or not, just minutes later, here comes a guy being escorted by the security guard. He says, "I'm Don Ohlmeyer. Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm Jim Nantz. This is Fred Couples, Blaine McAllister, John Horn. I was wondering if perhaps I could get a job with you this weekend. I'm a communications major. I'm on the Houston golf team." He said, "What kind of job did you want?" And one of the guys blurted out, "Put him on the air. He wants to be an announcer." A little, 19-year-old bravado at the time. And he kind of, well, we have all the announcers we need. But I could use a little help to have someone driving the announcers in a golf cart from the parking lot to the compound, then out to their towers. I can't pay you anything, but if you'd be willing to do it, you can work every day for us. And of course, I accepted it for no pay. And the next week, they took me to the next week's tournament up in Dallas at the Byron Nelson. And there, they paid me $20 a day.
And you were on your way.
I was on my way. It's a lesson in that sometimes you have to be either persistent or insistent, and you have to try to create your own breaks. But I had this childhood obsession. Rob, when I was 11 years old, I identified at that point in my life, I told my dad, I want to be one of those voices. It actually had nothing to do with being on television. I still could care less if I was ever on TV. In fact, if they told me I could go call my games or golf tournaments and never be on camera, that would be fine with me. I wouldn't have to worry about the shirt-tie combinations and all that packing. The joy for me is in telling the story.
Well, you're very generous in the book about saluting the sports announcers whom you listened to when you were growing up, and you list a bunch of names. Let me just pick one. Jim McKay of ABC Sports.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat.
Something more than physical stamina drives these athletes.
Jim McKay, to me, took me all over the world. He was my tour guide and exposed me to places like behind the Iron Curtain, to the Great Wall of China. All these places, the Olympics. He introduced me to different cultures, people, places, and things, and that was why I was so enchanted by sports to begin with. I'm not an agate-type reading guy in the back of the sports pages, memorizing box scores. I'm into the stories that are usually, something to do with overcoming adversity, or something that's uplifting, something that has to do with the a heartbeat, with the humanity to it. And Jim McKay, to me, was that great storyteller that I wanted to be just like.
That's what comes through when you're on the air. It's not just announcing, it's storytelling. You give a narrative to the event.
I feel like that's my job. I feel like I'm there as the paid observer for the viewer.
Kenny Perry, introduced to the game by his father. They played so much golf in his early years. He made me mentally tough, says the champion here.
A storyteller. That's what I feel like my job. My job has nothing to do with statistics. Statistics to me are boring. They put people to sleep.
Well, you could do this job till you're 100 years old, and it would be difficult for sheer drama and improbability to top the 1992 Masters. Golf fans may know this story. People who don't follow golf don't. You mentioned Fred Couples a moment ago. Tell me the story about Fred Couples at the Masters.
Well, what are the odds, Rob? Like I say, I come to the University of Houston by way of New Jersey on this decorated golf team that's won 16 national championships. Fred Couples comes out of Seattle. We're put in the same dorm suite together. And he comes to school with one clear goal, that is to win the Masters. My goal since I was a little boy was to broadcast the Masters. So we would, into a little audio cassette deck that was about this size, I'd be interviewing him, and the scene was always play acting the Masters. He's won it, I'm hosting it. That would go on, just kids. That's what we did for fun in college. Now you fast forward, to 12 to 15 years later, the 12th of April, 1992. Fred wins the Masters. I was there to host it, present the green jacket to my old roommate. It was pretty special.
Deeply emotional.
It still is. I mean, just talking to you right now about it, I mean, I can still, just the thought of it brings back all the emotions of that day. That was a very difficult show to do. My voice was a quiver. I could barely get the words out. I was completely panicked about maybe having such a meltdown that I couldn't even take us off the air. We managed to make our way through it. Fred ignored me. He turned his head. He couldn't look at me in the eyes because he too was that close to emotionally losing it all. It'd be hard to come up with a broadcast that could touch me as deeply as that.
Of all the sports you cover, the Masters is your favorite event. You covered it for the first time in 1986. What are your plans for the second weekend in April 2035?
I have plans right now on retiring I can get specific because the Masters always ends on the second Sunday in April. I've actually looked it up. Second Sunday of April in 2035 is April the 8th. That will be my last broadcast. That's my goal anyway. What I've set as a goal is I would like to broadcast 50 Masters, God willing, and network willing. Given the chance to do that, I would like to declare my retirement right here tonight. That would be my 50th Masters. And to me, the career goal that's out there, because I've had a chance to do all the big events except for the World Series, if I had a chance to do 50 Masters, I'd be very happy.
All right, very cool.
We'll see what happens in 2035.
I know, 10-ish more years.
Yeah.
Wow, all right.